And we're live. Welcome back to Brian Sells Words. I'm Brian. And before we get started, give me a chance if you like the content I'm putting out here. If this is on YouTube or whatnot, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you're listening on Facebook, same. Like, share, and and follow these pages. Recommend this page for other people. Really, I want to reach as many people as possible with these messages. So I'm not going to have a whole lot going on before I jump into my topic here, but I do want to let you know that I am taking on clients. If you're interested, if you want to sit down and have a chat, consultation about your marketing service or maybe even some business strategy, I'm always available. I have the link right now. I'm taking appointments on Tuesdays just to kind of balance out my schedule. But as I start adding more clients, I actually, strangely enough, see more time opening up because, as I start adding more people, I have to start putting other stuff on the back burner. So you'll see the link for my appointments in the description. Now, I want to jump into this. We have an ongoing global situation, as many of you are aware. And I think it was either last week or earlier this week, we kind of ran up on the 1 year kind of anniversary for a lot of people of the country kind of shutting down. And it impacted a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And so I wanted to do a quick video to discuss the things that I've learned over the last 365 days of being a freelance marketing consultant. Some of it's going to be business, some of it's going to be marketing. So, just hang on, and that's what we'll get into. First things first, the most important thing I learned, starting out in this 365 was, and it was really important, it was really kind of an informative thing, is life is too short to have to work with people that you're not exactly vibing with. That's one of the powers that you actually have as a business owner, where your clients choose you, but you have a degree of power to choose who your clients are. And it's not running people off, but if you get a certain group of clients that just aren't connecting with you, if there's some common threads, you can create a marketing plan that drives those clients, and says, hey, we may not be the right fit for you. And that's very important as a business owner, is designing your marketing plan so that you attract the people that you want to work with and push away the people that you aren't appropriate to work with. Not saying they're bad people, not saying anything's wrong with them, but just because you have the ability to serve them doesn't mean you should always serve them. And there's a couple of reasons behind that. One, you may have a service mismatch. You may never be able to fill what their expectations of you are, because they don't really have clear expectations of what services they're getting from you. They may ask you to do stuff that's outside of your scope of expertise. And the mistake I've made a couple of times was saying, yeah, I can learn it. And one of the downfalls to that kind of mentality is, yeah, I've learned I have a pretty wide bandwidth to learn a lot of different things that I want to try out. But the reality of the situation is, just because I have the capacity to learn, it doesn't mean I always have the time. And it starts putting me into time crunches with other projects that I know a little bit better. Having to learn something that's way outside of my scope of discipline or scope of services, and it's a one-off service that I'm not going to repeat or don't really care to do. The time I'm spending learning that stuff could be better spent serving other clients that are in my scope of services. And I know a lot of other people that I can outsource that stuff to, who that's what they're interested in, that's what their passion is, and it'll be a better link. That makes sense? So life is too short to continue to chase clients that you don't exactly vibe with. And I've learned how to, better or worse, say no. Say, yeah, that's not really what I do. And here's the thing: when the pandemic first dropped on everybody's head, I was in a mode where I'm like, I will take anything. And with that taking on anything and everything, I took on vaguely defined projects. I took on projects that I didn't quite have a real strong passion for. And, I'm my own worst critic. So I delivered a high quality service that people were hopefully happy with, but I wasn't happy with the end result. And other times I delivered a product that may have not been up to the quality of somebody where that's their lane. if that makes sense. And so, there's nothing wrong with stretching yourself as a business owner, stretching yourself as a freelancer, but make sure you're stretching yourself in a way with stuff that you're actually going to want to do a year from now. And that's not what I did. And so that's one of the things I learned. I also learned that, people, on the other side, the flip side is the clients that you have that stick with you enjoy some level of your service. And so, you shouldn't, I guess, don't beat yourself up for things that you do. The perfectionism stuff will run you dry. And I have a strong perfectionism streak. And so if something isn't exactly the way I want it or delivered in the way that I want it, or if something happens that's outside of my ability of control, I tend to get down on myself. And that's something I learned over the last 365. There's a lot of things that happened that were way outside of my control. And at the end of the day, my clients were still happy with what they got. So I was beating myself up and trying to almost overcompensate for things, and not being pleased with the fact that I was giving the service that was requested of me. I was trying to go above and beyond, and then you go back into hyperextending yourself into something else. And so that's something else I've learned. Sometimes the destination is good enough. You get to the end of the race, or you get to your destination. That is something that's good enough. Another thing I've learned is, the importance of the communication piece of it. I'm not the best with following up on stuff. Sometimes I'll get ideas in my head and just fire them off into the universe and contact somebody, and they may not be in the right area or right place to receive that information, and then I don't follow up on it, and so that kind of goes by the wayside. It's a weird thing, but it does happen. And following up on, if somebody asks me to do something and I do it, letting them know it's done is an important part of that. And sometimes I just, it's easy to get into that box of thinking, well, if I log on and see it's done, then for me, that's good enough. But for a lot of clients and a lot of people, they need that insurance that, okay, I asked you to do this thing and you did it, but I need to know that you did it. And so I need to hear back from you, to see if it was actually completed. And so the follow-up piece is big. The other side of the follow-up piece is, I've checked in with clients that for whatever reasons had to pause services or do something, wanting to go into a different direction. And it's been beneficial because they've had other things that they needed me to work on. And so we reignited those kind of conversations. But checking in on clients that you worked well with, but may have had to go and do other things for whatever number of reasons. And so the reaching out and circling back and touching base with people has been really beneficial. And that's something I wasn't the best with starting out. And some of my client relationships had suffered because of that piece of it. And I'll be frank about it. That's about as real as I can keep it. Over the last 365, I've learned to value what I do more. And, we've talked about it. I've talked about the paradox of learning, where the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know about something. It's something I've discussed on other videos. And that really hit me hard because, the imposter syndrome sits in, and you feel like you're just making stuff up as you go along, even though you have a lot more knowledge about what you're talking about than a lot of the other people that you're interfacing with, or the people that are seeking you out for advice. You may know more than they do, but at the end of the day, if you don't believe in your knowledge, or if you don't have faith in your knowledge, it doesn't really mean a lot. So, being able to trust what I know, and being comfortable to say, I don't know, I'll find out. That's been very powerful for me moving forward, because, there are times where I would just say, I would say, I don't know, but I didn't follow up with but I can find out. Or I would just make up something and be totally wrong, or just approximate an answer and be totally wrong, as opposed to saying, you know what, I don't know that right now, but I can come back to you on this piece of it. That is hugely beneficial. It also helps when I'm setting my price. The other thing is, One other thing I learned is how to be steadfast in what I'm asking for, because I do feel like I provide value. And, um, you know, the exchange of value is you ask me for my expertise, I give you my expertise. The money is kind of like an appreciation token for the expertise and the time that I've spent with it, and getting comfortable with asking that piece of it. That is huge. Even business owners that have been doing the business owning thing for a long time struggle with understanding the concept of um, getting out of the mind state of the consumer versus a producer. When you're in the consumer mind state, your price points seem high when you're in a consumer mind state, because you're looking at it from the vantage point of somebody that buys services from other people, uh, as opposed to provide services for other people. When you provide services, you understand that there's a level of overhead. There's certain services you have to pay for. There's equipment that you have to utilize. Storage space is one of those things that doesn't get mentioned enough. Storage space and the new demands of technology in terms of storage is big. And so right now I'm looking at buying uh, a new SSD drive for my computer, and that's a $300 investment, with the model I'm using or whatnot. And understanding that all the videos that I've shot for clients and all the audio I've recorded for people takes up space, and I have to have space to manage that. And so it actually costs me money to store that stuff locally. And so I have to build that into my cost. I have to build in the fact that maybe one day I might come down here and the little camera, the mirrorless camera that I'm using to shoot this on, catches fire, or something weird like that. And so I have to, build that into my cost. And so understanding, my price point isn't high uh, if you're looking at it from a value standpoint. And a lot of business owners don't understand that, especially if you're in a consulting field, if you're providing a service for people. People underprice their services drastically because they're looking at it from the mindset of, if I was a customer, how would I feel about paying this price point, as opposed to, I am the service provider. How much is my time actually worth? That was very that was something that I learned, during the summer, as everything was, tiptoeing between we're going to open up and we can't open up and stuff like that. I learned that my time is really, really a valuable commodity, and I need to actually charge people for that. And the reality is, if people have the money and they see value in what you're doing, they will pay that price point as long as you're providing good value. Um, the people that are going to try to nickel and dime you either don't appreciate your time, or they don't value they don't value what you're giving them. They don't appreciate your time, or they may value it, but they don't have the ability to pay. And one of the things, uh, Dale, he talked about this last week on one of his episodes, and I'll drop the link if I can track it down. I'll drop the link in this. He talked about the concept of especially Black business owners making sure that you're getting compensated for your time, and that compensation doesn't always have to be in cash. It can be some kind of barter. You're getting something of value in exchange for the value that you're providing, and making sure that you are asking for what you're worth, and making sure that your time is valued appropriately. That's very important for business owners. And I think, specifically when you're talking about a marginalized population of business owners, we already have to combat the feeling that our value is less. And I hate to say that, but we combat the internal feeling of a society telling us that our value is less, our contributions are less. And so once you carry that stigma opening up a business, and you feel like you should be the discount answer, or you should be at a price point where everybody can afford your services. And the reality is, Dan Kennedy put this over, there's no strategic advantage in being the second cheapest option. There is none. Either you are the most expensive option or you're the cheapest option. There's no advantage in being the second cheapest or second most expensive. It just buries you. And it ends up becoming a race to the bottom, because your services end up becoming commoditized where they can find you anywhere. So don't be afraid to ask for what you're worth. Ask for what your time is worth. If people don't like the price point, either they can they can bargain with you, they can barter and exchange something of value for the value that you're giving them, or they can find somebody who's better suited for what they need. But stop taking less. That was very important. Stop taking less, because what happens is you can get very disillusioned and start to actually hate your business really quick if you are dumping an insane amount of time into your business. You're dumping a insane amount of time into the work for your clients, and you don't feel like you're getting adequately compensated for that time. um, it can hurt you in the long run and the short run, where your business ends up becoming a burden because you don't feel adequately compensated, and you end up hating this business that you love so much when you're in the planning phases of it and the exciting initial execution of it. You filling out your LLC paperwork, you're getting all that stuff taken care of, you're writing up, your articles of incorporation, you're doing all the stuff that business owners do when they're starting out, and it's really exciting. You're seeing all the different vistas that you can reach. You're seeing all of it. But then you get into the grind of it, and since you're not charging enough for your time, you end up hating it because you feel like, what am I doing this for? I'm still struggling. I'm barely able to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm not even getting paid enough for this. And the thing that you love ends up becoming something that you hate. So charge what you're worth. Charge your time. I can give you a lot of different formulas that people have used to determine how much to charge per hour. I would just say, take a look at how much you want to make per year and double it, and then figure out how much that is per hour. That's a good starting point. Now, it's not your ending point. Other people, you're going to have other factors to consider. You're going to have equipment. You're going to have ongoing fees. You're going to have insurance costs and all this other stuff that you're going to have to factor in. So the roughest thing I can say is figure out how much you want to make per year, double it, and then divide it and make it so that it goes to, it pays you per hour. So, average 40 to 45 hours a week. Another thing I learned, I learned how to manage my time a little bit better, and I've learned how to front load my work. So I've built in natural stopping points for myself on days where, I don't have anything in the evenings. Now, if I have something in the evening, I may not get started until a little bit later on in the day, but I built in natural stopping points because I realized that attention and ability to focus is a limited commodity. And there are instances where scientists have, sorry, I got my phone here ringing. There are instances where scientists have kind of figured that piece out and how that looks, and really, laid it out and what it actually looks like. But the reality is, your ability to focus is limited. And they can't figure out if it's related to your blood sugar or anything like that. But your willpower is a limited commodity. Maximize it and make sure that you're not trying to stretch beyond it, because that's when you start getting the low quality work. And that also can create the situation where you end up hating what you're doing. And so for me, I try to front load all my meetings in the morning. If I can't, I make sure that I plan my day. Like if I have one of these long days, like I have a long day tomorrow. If I have a long day, then I make sure that I try to schedule the workload and keep it kind of light until I actually really need those willpower reserves to kick in the evening, so I can stay focused about what I'm talking about. Because one thing is, when I get unfocused, when my willpower is completely depleted, that's where I get rambly. And I start having difficult times tying thoughts together. And I've realized over the last year, that is something that, because I learned it when I was working for somebody else. But when I was working for somebody else, I was either working day shift or night shift. So it was already pre-planned. I wasn't determining what my own schedule was. When I had started working for myself, I had to figure that piece out. And that was a very difficult thing, because here's the thing. If I don't do it during the day, what I end up doing is it ends up haunting me at night. And so now I'll have these 2 or 3 in the morning, or wake up super, super early work sessions. And while it feels productive, it drains the battery, because especially if I have a long day, if I'm waking up at 5 in the morning to do a project that I have postponed or didn't do during the time where I had my focus with me, it sets you up to fail. So I learned how to manage my time a little bit better. And so figure out where your willpower reserves are strongest. And I would say the best way to do that, and this is kind of unscientific, but is figure out when the work is the easiest for you. What time of day is your work easiest for you? Some are morning people, some are mid-afternoon people. Me is post-workout, where I'm really kind of locked in and able to really focus on some things. And sometimes even early evening, I can go into the early evening. But understand when your willpower reserves are the strongest, realize what your edges are, and understand that you're not going to get the same quality work if you power through your edges. I mean, it's just not going to work. So if you have the ability to structure your time so that you're not cutting too far into your rest time, it's beneficial. And here, I even throw out, since I'm back into my weight training routine, one of the most important things with a weight training routine is rest. Resting so that you can recover from the stress that you put on your body. I'm trying to get back up to trying to get my deadlift back up to 600 pounds. And so in the process of training for that, you have your work days, you have your days that are more kind of active rest, which are kind of your lighter days or whatnot. And then you have your PR days. And on your PR days, you want to schedule them at a time where you're going to have the biggest gap between that and your next session. So typically my PR days are on Fridays, and then I have a natural built-in gap on Saturday, Sunday before I'm back in under the iron on Monday morning. And so figure out when your reserves are best to do the most work. That was huge for me. It was huge for me. I talked about making sure you're valuing your time, making sure your clients are evaluating your time. I do want to kind of circle back and talk about when you have an inappropriate client or a client that's not exactly right for what you want to do. And it's not always a bad thing. If you realize that somewhere along the lines that you guys just aren't meshing, I would say take the step and just say, you know what? I don't think this is working out, and stepping out of it. I made the mistake of getting halfway through it and just saying, I don't think this is right. And I started pulling out, but that perfectionist in the back of my mind said, you can't quit. And so I tried to power through it, and it just didn't work. It absolutely did not work for anybody involved. And so being able to say, you know what, it's not a fit. Where's a natural stopping point where I can stop with this service and hand it over to somebody else or move on, instead of trying to force your way through it and just deliver something. Because the specific thing I'm talking about, it not only hurt my momentum, but it hurt my psyche a little bit, because I started doubting what my abilities were. And it was me stretching into something that I was not really prepared to do. And it's something I took on the fly, and it just didn't work. And so unfortunately, I tried to just power through it, and I got halfway through, and I'm like, you know what? This is not working. This is not what I want to do. This is not the trajectory I wanted to go with my business. This is not the trajectory I wanted to go with my services. And so I tried to start finding an exit. And instead of sticking to my guns and finding the exit, I met with the client and basically kind of told him what my concerns were. And the client was cool. I mean, I'm not going to front. The client was really cool about it and said, do what you need to do. Let's just set up a meeting so that we can transition it, so that I can get the most of it. And instead of just taking them up and saying, you know what, let's go ahead and do that, I tried to power through it with a client I wasn't appropriate for, with services I didn't want to do. Instead of just taking that exit path and facilitating a meeting to transfer it over to somebody else, but perfectionist said, you can't quit. And I stuck through it. And I was totally unhappy with what my final product was. And it didn't help that I think around that time, probably January, February last year, COVID ran through my family, and my wife got sick. And at the time, we thought it was just kind of a flu. But when you look at some of the symptoms and, some of the underlying things that they've kind of mentioned as the bellwethers of it, I think it hit my wife and son. And there were nights where I'm up worried because I'm like, are we going to have to go to the ER? And so I had all that stuff running in the back of my mind while I'm still trying to sort out a project that I really didn't want to do for a client that I don't know if we were on the same page in terms of what the expectations were. And it just hurt my psyche. And it really did a number on me for a couple of months, where I was kind of depressed because I'm like, maybe I don't know what I'm doing. And at the end of the day, it was just me taking on something, stretching myself to take on something I didn't want to do long term. I don't mind stretching myself to learn something new, but it's got to be something I want to do for a long term. And I didn't really see an ongoing path with that. And so I'm saying all that to say this: understand what your limits are. It taught me my limit, and not being afraid to say, this is my limit and this is what I'm not going to do. That was very instructive. That's what I had to learn over 365, because I'm never going to get in that place again mentally with a client. I'm just not going to, because I wasn't happy. I don't know if the client was, I don't think the client was too satisfied with what they got. And I should have stopped when my mind told me to stop. So that's that. Another thing I learned: test out services before you start advertising. Test out a service to see if you actually want to do it. Just because you can do it doesn't mean that's what you want to do. One specific thing that I know how to do, I've done plenty of times, I have lots of experience doing, I've done it multiple times for me, is building websites. I know how to do it. Now, I'm not building them from scratch. I know how to use, WordPress. I know how to use Squarespace. I know a little bit of HTML stuff. I know how to do it. I know some of the principles of a good website for marketing, and that's not always it's not all, the aesthetics of a website don't always match with with what's good from a marketing standpoint. And so you have to have a developer that understands both ends of it so they can tie it together, but they don't always lend to one another. But I know how to do all that stuff. I know how to set all that stuff up. I don't want to build a website. I never want to build a website ever again. I'll hire somebody to build my next website. It's something I have no desire in doing. But I've taken that on because clients have asked me, and instead of just saying, that's not the direction I want to go, I went ahead with it. Now, I'll build a landing page for somebody in a heartbeat. I don't mind doing a landing page. I don't mind doing a sales funnel. A sales funnel is basically a web page that sells products, and that's all it does. It exists for either to sell products or collect emails for an email list so that you can, reach out to them for products later on in the future. I don't mind doing that stuff. But to build somebody's website from scratch, and I've even offered it, I've caught myself like, what are you doing? You hate designing websites. You hate it. It's just something I know how to do. And it's one of the first things that I taught myself when I decided I want to be my own, run my own business, was I taught myself some light coding, and I've taught myself how to manage, WordPress and Wix and all the website builders out there, plus do some stuff on my own. It went along with learning how to create apps. I know how to build apps. It's something I have no desire in doing. And so I know enough to be a good client when I'm hiring somebody, to kind of test what their knowledge is, but that's something I have no desire in doing. And so if you are running a service business, if there's a service that you do not like, don't advertise it. Don't tell people you do it. Because what's going to happen is, you invariably, and it always happens, no matter what happens, that's going to be your most requested service. If you advertise, if you tell people I do X, but you hate doing X, you rather do Y and Z, you're going to get more orders for X than anything else. And it's a fast way, and it's a fast track to start hating everything about your business. And that's one of the things I ran into. Like I said, I don't like website design. That is not my comfort level. I'd rather edit videos. I'd rather record podcasts and edit those and master those, and get the sound right and all that stuff. I don't have any desire to build anybody else's website. And for the people that I've built websites for, I do appreciate your business. That's not what I'm saying. And I actually appreciate, this is the other side. I'm appreciative of every single client that's ever given me an opportunity, even if it hasn't worked out. I'm appreciative of that, because it's one of those things where if I've ever worked with you, if I've ever said yes to working with you, I believe in what you're doing, and I believe in your vision, and I want you to succeed on a massive, massive level. And so if I've ever worked with you, for my clients and for my current, former, active and maybe in future clients, I'm going to be the biggest cheerleader for your business. That's just what I do. When I was working with, when I was in human services, when I was managing, residential care staff and uh, family support workers, I'm your biggest cheerleader. And that's the thing I carry over from that piece of it. I want you to succeed in a massive way. So even if you're having success away from me, I'm cheering you on. Um, so if I've ever worked with you, that's where I'm at. But if we've been together and it hasn't worked out, it's not, I don't start cheering against your business. I don't start rooting for you to fail. I want you to do well. I want you to succeed, because your success is something that makes me happy. And that's why I got into this. I got into this because I wanted to help other people in this space find their lane. I wanted to be the person that can show you, you don't have to have this advanced marketing degree to do this, because most marketing degrees are for mass marketers. They're for people to go work for an ad firm somewhere. It took a couple of rejection letters from ad firms because I didn't have the background that they were looking for, even though I had plenty of skill in the areas that they said they needed help in. So I want people that I've worked with to succeed. That's the biggest piece of it. And being able to say, you know what, this doesn't work, is a gift, because that means that I can refer you to somebody that's going to better suit your needs and do exactly what you want them to do. If I'm not that person, I'd rather not be that person up front than try to pretend like there's some kind of magic way where things are going to work out, and it's not going to. So anyway, over the last 365, I learned a lot of things. I learned how to be flexible. I learned how to pivot. I've learned how to research new potential niches, and I learned how to test before I jump right in. These are very important things as a business owner. As a marketer, I've learned that the thing you can't do, the thing you can least afford to do in an economic downturn when things start slowing down, is trimming your marketing budget. That is literally, you're cutting off the supply of clients. And typically that's the first thing that goes. When things slow down, the first thing that goes is the marketing budget. And that's the piece that actually can get you over the hump, that can get you over the slowness in your business. Because if you have a good marketing consultant, or you have a good marketing firm that you're working with, they're going to provide flexibility. They're going to say, what are some low cost things that we can implement right now to try to get clients in the door? I've taken that turn with a couple of clients where things slow down. Okay, we're going to pull back on paid traffic. We're going to pull back on paid ads. We're going to invest in and invest time into. If we can't invest money, we're going to invest time into email marketing, which is kind of a low cost way, especially if you already have a mailing list or a pool of emails to use. It's a low cost way to deliver a similar type of marketing. Now, is it going to have as much reach as a paid ad on Google? No, but it's going to reach out to people that have already done business with you, and maybe you can encourage them to re-up and do business with you again. Don't trim your marketing budget when things slow down. 365. I am learning that. Things slow down. That's the first thing I did. I pulled back on my marketing budget. And when I look at marketing budget, I'm not looking just at monetary. I'm looking at time. Time is a finite resource. And so when I say budget, how much time do I have budgeted to marketing? I pulled back on that stuff when everything slowed down. And when I was ready to restart, I had to play a game of catch up, because I had to reactivate everything and get back on my grind and stuff like that. That's why the YouTube page slowed down. I was cranking out videos pretty consistently, and I have a whole backlog of videos that I've shot or I want to shoot, talking about book reviews for business owners and things like that I want to post. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, let me know in the comments. But, I have a whole library of business books that I can recommend to business owners and people that are looking to improve the marketing and do some DIY marketing for their business. I pull way back on my marketing budget in terms of time and money, and I suffered for it. From a marketing standpoint, you can't afford to do it. There's always a cheaper version of the marketing you're doing. Now, you have to have reasonable expectations for if you're not paying a lot for your marketing, you have to have reasonable expectations for that. Now, every dollar is accountable. That is a baseline expectation. If you spend $1, you want to get that dollar back. But if you're only spending $1, it's very difficult to expect that $1 of marketing to make you $1,000. If you tap into that, please let me know, because I need to figure out what that is. Making sure that your dollar makes 2 is a reasonable expectation. Making sure your dollar makes 5 can be a reasonable expectation if you have your marketing system set up. Another marketing thing, have a marketing system. Have a way that your marketing is delivered consistently to your audience. And when I say your audience, I treat social media like channels. And I mentioned this before. Every social media channel, every social media platform has its own demographics, its own user base, has its own norms and its own rules. It has its own channel of people. It has its own demographic people that it's brought in. Treat it like a television channel. Specific television networks have a very targeted demographic in mind. If you sit down, if you're home during the day and you happen to turn on Price is Right, what you're going to see is a lot of commercials for elderly people, because they're targeting a retired base of people. And so the marketing and the advertisements you're going to see are going to align what they've seen an older demographic respond to. And so treat your social media the same way. Don't feel like you need to be present everywhere, but the ones you are present on, you do have an audience. You do have audience that's watching you, and you need to provide them quality content. You need to provide them informative content. You need to let them know about what your services are. You need to share some of your expertise with them. One of the things that does real big numbers, and a lot of business owners don't really grasp this. One of the things I could tell you this, the YouTube videos where you're making something, where something's getting manufactured, do numbers. You can log on and find a video where somebody is built, like some machine is building some Legos or something. People are going to be watching that stuff. People are fascinated by that kind of stuff. Sometimes people are just going to want to see what you do. So videos that just highlight what you do, where you don't have to do a lot of talking, you don't have to do anything. They just sit down and watch you work and watch you do what you do. People want to see that kind of content. People want to see content that's entertaining. There are businesses that have started on TikTok that are doing numbers on TikTok because their videos are entertaining. They may not be the most informative thing, but because they have some kind of name recognition for being entertaining, they're getting business from that. What I'm saying is this: understand your audience, understand that you do have an audience and you have a responsibility to continue to stay in touch with them with information that they find relevant. Understand this: you don't have to be present on every emerging social media platform. I would advise against that. If you're not comfortable with it, learn how to use it before you start driving traffic to it. If you don't like it, don't use it. If you hate Twitter, don't have a Twitter account for your business, because that's just one potential audience that you're pissing off because they've followed you on Twitter and you're not providing them anything. And it could actually sour your business relationship with them before you've even interacted with them. So don't even be there for it. If you hate Instagram, I hate Instagram. I don't like Instagram. I don't know how to use it. Well, I do know how to use it, but I don't really use it that much. I don't really take a lot of photos of me. And I don't share a lot of photos of me, and so Instagram is not really worth my time. And so my activities on Instagram are pretty limited. And part of it is me trying to learn what the platform is so I can learn the ways that I can make the platform work for me. And other is I'm not present there yet, or I'm not too present there yet. So I don't want to drive a whole lot of traffic there yet. But view the social media platforms as channels with their own unique characteristics so that you can figure out what message you want to put out there for people. I know specifically one source of traffic that gets overlooked vastly is YouTube. People are overlooking YouTube because there are millions of YouTubers out there, and you can only see so many videos, clips of somebody falling down before you're like, okay, I'm done. Or what my kids like to watch are people reacting to videos of people falling down, but that's what they enjoy. There's a lot of YouTubers out there that have massive followings that haven't put a business model behind it, and they're suffering. You can take advantage of it as free real estate. All you need is a Gmail account, and you create content that an audience the audience responds to, and you could be doing more business than you can handle if you tap into the right vein with the audience. So understand, these social media platforms are out there, and this is something that I've learned over the last 365. I don't need to be present everywhere. I need to be present where it matters and where it counts and where I like to be. Right now, I'm comfortable on Facebook. That may be an indicator of my age. More comfortable on Facebook than I am on Twitter, and more comfortable than I am specifically on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I don't really understand LinkedIn's interface, and I haven't put in the time to learn it. But I'm trying to build out a platform there as well, and so there are very specific things I'm doing there too. So don't dial back on your social media just because things slow down or things aren't going don't dial back on your marketing just because things aren't going the way you want them to. You got to power through that piece of it. Last thing I've learned over the last 365, and this is going to be a video I'm probably going to touch on, maybe 90 days from now. I'll do a follow-up video. It takes time, people get into this Shark Tank mentality, and they think that, and for those that don't know, the Shark Tank show, where you have investors, a pool of investors, people bring their businesses in, investors make offers for, they'll offer a specific amount of cash, or they'll give a loan in exchange for a percentage of a business, and blah, blah, blah. People get into these Shark Tank mentality kind of things where they think that overnight successes are common, or overnight successes are actually overnight. It takes a lot of work to be an overnight success in many cases. You have to put in years to become an overnight success, if that makes sense. And people jump into this business thing with both feet, thinking that they're going to be able to see a profit in a year or 2 years. They think that they're going to be able, and they beat themselves up because they're not there. They're not where they want to be. And it takes time. You have to figure out what your niche is. I guess that's another step I can do. You got to figure out what your niche is, figure out who your audience is, and figure out what platforms you're using to reach that audience, and then create your message to attract the people that you want and push away the people you don't want. That's important. That's an important step. And it takes a while to figure out what your voice is and figure out where exactly how exactly you want to position yourself. The last thing, and I'll make this the last thing, I mentioned it, find a niche. Find a specific group of clients that you want to serve. Stop trying to be everything to everybody. Please stop. Even if you're in your personal life, stop trying to be everything to everybody, because invariably somebody's not going to like what you're doing. That's just how it works. That is the circle of life. So please stop chasing everybody. You will not serve everybody. You won't. You will not have a business that serves everybody. You will not be successful if you have a business that doesn't have clients that are dedicated and coming and dedicated to you and keep coming back to you as repeat customers. You'll burn yourself out, or you'll be a commodity. Because if you're everything to everybody, there are lots of things that are everything to everybody, and you become interchangeable with any other number of services. Pick a group of people that you want to serve, or market that you want to serve, and market to them. The other people will come. You're not going to lose anybody that has value. The people you will lose are the people that don't put the value into your business. They're the people that are constantly asking you for discounts, or always disputing charges, or always scrutinizing every minor detail and making your life very difficult. So pick a niche. Stop trying to serve the whole planet, because there isn't really, Walmart serves the whole planet. McDonald's doesn't really have a niche of people that they want to serve. But you start looking at some of these other restaurants that are doing numbers. You look, Taco Bell. Taco Bell they serve everybody, but they do have a niche. You have to like tacos. You have to like Taco Bell food, and Taco Bell food isn't really quantifiable. It's not. It's almost its own food group, its own subgenre of food. But they have their fans, and they market to a very specific group of people. Chipotle markets to a very specific group of people. Even though it's broad, the people that frequent Chipotle have a very specific way that they like their food. And so they market towards that. One that I've known that I've seen in real life is Panera Bread. Panera Bread has a niche of people that they serve. Look at the way they message their food. Look at eat clean. They're targeting somebody very specific. They're not targeting Mr. Five Guys, or they're not targeting me. They're targeting people that are really into that kind of stuff, who like hospital food. They like hospital food. They like to pay a lot for hospital food. Okay, I'm not gonna slander Panera anymore. That's not what I'm here for. But they like Panera Bread. They like the food that they serve there, and so they have a very specific niche of people. One that I've seen that's really interesting is Old Spice. Old Spice has been making these really quirky commercials for people that have a very specific sense of humor, and even the names of some of the scents they have play into that. And they're targeting people that respond to the sense of humor that their advertising uses, and it's been worked out very well for them because they haven't stopped. For what Skittles does the same thing, Doritos does the same thing. They market to the people that respond to the sense of humor and the kind of personality that's in their ads, and it's worked like gangbusters for them. They don't have to be the broad base. Panera doesn't have to be McDonald's in terms of their messaging. They can be very selective and saying, this is what you're going to get here, and this is what you're not going to get here. And, what you're going to get here is hospital food. What you're going to get here is, fresh salads. You're going to get fresh sandwiches. You're going to get more of the soup and sandwich kind of thing with them. You're going to get some exotic bread flavors. You're going to get different kinds of teas and things that we associate with this brand. They probably market well with people that actually, that cross over into the people that frequent Trader Joe's and Whole Foods. So that's the niche that they've locked into. Even major brands are focusing on niches. McDonald's is actually focusing on niches because they jumped into the pop niche of kids that want to eat what their favorite pop stars are eating. And so the J Balvin, or whatever you say that man's name is, he had his meal out there that my son was begging for. And so on our fast food night, we took him out and he got the J Balvin meal and he was happy with that. And for me, I'm like, it's just a Big Mac and a shake. But for him, he was eating the J Balvin meal. So it made sense. That was the niche that they're going for. And so by seeking partnerships with these pop artists, McDonald's has created a little niche, a little sub genre in the audience that they serve, of people that are looking for that pop star recognition. So, or people that are looking for that pop star affiliation. So they eat what the pop stars say they like. I know the Travis Scott meal did a lot of numbers for McDonald's. So that's them finding a subgenre of a niche. So over the last 365, I learned to find your niche. My niche is small business owners who want to try something different with their marketing. They've tried the major things with their marketing, and they want to try something a little bit different. They're not afraid to try to create content or have content created for them. They're not afraid to leverage these other channels that, traditionally, people haven't, small business owners haven't really leveraged. So they're looking to do that kind of stuff. I also have a niche where I'm trying to develop for aspiring business owners, people that want to be business owners one day, but need a little bit of guidance, need a little bit of help. That's what the podcast is for. It's Brian Sells Words is the podcast, if you're interested. That's what the YouTube channel is for. Brian Sells Words is the YouTube channel, if you're interested. Those are the people that, those are the two groups that I'm really trying to tailor stuff for. The small business owners who looking to do something a little bit different with their marketing and aren't afraid of creating content, and people that are looking to get started without having to have an arm and a leg or a backer to get into the game, to get into the business game. So those are the things I've learned over the last 365. I'm going to update this video. I'll set a timer for 90 days and come back and talk about what I've learned, what I've learned since. But if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you want to reach me, my email is scrolling across the bottom. It's bsellswords@gmail.com. If you want to meet for a consultation, it's going to be $250 for the time we're consulting. I'm probably going to ask you, when you initially reach out to me, tell me a little bit about your business and social media platforms that you're active on, so we can come up with a good, solid strategy that I can share with you when we meet, so we can make the most of our time together. But that link, my scheduling link, is going to be in the notes for the show. Like, share, and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, like and share, and get other people to follow the page. If you're on YouTube, like, share, subscribe. Subscribing is going to allow me to grow my audience so I can reach more people and help more people, because that's really what this is about, is helping as many people as possible. I appreciate your time and attention to this. I feel like I'm getting a little bit better with the live stream format. And so I do like this format. What I'm thinking the value is going to be is me pulling the videos down a little bit and doing a little bit of editing on the back end. But right now, I like the spontaneity of doing live streams. So that's all I got. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. Brian Sells Words. I'll talk to you. If it doesn't make dollars, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. I'll at you later. Peace.